Now, I'm going to talk also, while we got this up here, about a couple of ways you can rig this drop shot. I prefer the lighter the hook, the better. You know, when I first started drop shot and I was using a 1/0, mosquito hook and an owner hook or a Gamakatsu, now I'm down to a size 4, and that sounds crazy. But the smaller the hook, you know, when you're fishing a drop shot, you're just skin hooking them. The smaller the hook, you know, the more action the bait's going to have, and you're going to get a lot more bites, and you're going to keep, you know, land a lot more fish. And you know, the conventional way, just hook it, nose hook, just like that. You know, that's pretty standard, basic way. But there's a couple other things you can do. You know, this year, Lake Lanier in Georgia, I'm fishing around brush piles. I'm throwing this crosstail shad, and bites are hard to come by, very few and far between. Well, I can't Texas rig this thing because the hook's too small. So what I found you could do to have the same action, you can come in through the bait like this, through the bottom, and just don't poke it all the way through. Now you're going to have a weed this little bait. It looks just like this. I'll rig it. Let me rig it again. So this is a different alternative with a small bait, like a roboworm or any of your favorite plastic baits. That's going to be nose hook. You're going to have the same action, but now it's completely weedless. You guys can come up there and see that later if you want. But you can throw it in there, and of course, you know, you catch one fish, it's gonna poke right through the plastic. It's not going to be weedless anymore, and that's it. So that's one of the ways I like to, one of the basic setups with the drop shot. The other way, you know, people ask all the time, well, you know, you just throw a drop shot in deep, clear water lakes, and it's not true. I've caught so many big ones at the Delta and Clear Lake and back east, flipping a drop shot, you know, and you don't have to have an 18-inch leader. I mean, some of these fish, you know, the largemouth, they're positioned close to the bottom. I can throw a drop shot with a 4-inch leader, or, you know, even a 1-inch leader, and it's a different way for the fish to see. You know, it's not a Texas rig. It's going to be, the bait's going to be more horizontal, which is going to get you a couple more bites. So how I'm going to fish this here, you know, this is a roboworm, but to have it completely weed this, I'm going to take a straight shank hook. This is a roboworm rebarb hook. You guys throw that? You guys know about that? And what it's going to do, it's a very light wire hook. You know, they make light wire, medium wire. It's going to be completely weedless. It's going to give the bait a ton of action. You're going to get a lot more bites. Plus, when you hook a fish with a straight shank hook, they are not coming off. I mean, this is a very good way to catch them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just like a regular, you know, off shank hook or EWG hook, I'm going to go through the top of the bait. I'm going to come down, same way. I'm going to pull it all the way through, and then this little barb is going to keep that worm. So now this thing's on there. I mean, you can see it's not going anywhere. I'm going to come through this, through the bottom, and there we go. This thing is completely weedless. This is one way you can throw the drop shot in the weeds and you know, get a lot more bites. Another thing I want to show you guys. This is something that I've never really talked about because I've kept it secret so long, but now a lot more people are knowing about it. And it's the nail weight rig. You guys familiar with that? The nail weight rig? Cinco or a flick shake or a roboworm, anything you want to do. Now, the setup is going to be pretty much the same setup as a drop shot. The only thing different, I'm going to go to probably a medium rod, a medium heavy, you know, but again, 7-foot rod, 7-foot 2-inch rod. You know, you want a really fast gear ratio with this, and not, you know, people don't pay attention, but like Shimano, their gear ratios are 6:0 to 1, fastest spinning reels in the market. Compared to some of the other stuff, might be a 4:7 to 1, and you're going to be playing a lot of catch up when you hook these fish. Now, what I like to do, the basic setup of this nail weight rig is you have a Cinco, you have a worm, you can use a trick worm. Here it is. You're going to take the worm, you're going to put a nail in the head of the worm. And I've actually seen guys use real nails. You know, I prefer the tungsten nail weights, but that's it. You're going to have some kind of, you know, O-ring, like those wacky O-rings you can put on Cincos or worms. You can put that on there. What you're going to do then, you're going to take your hook. Again, this is a number 4. Maybe you're going to go up to a number 2 mosquito hook. You're going to take the bait, and you're going to hook it just like this. And I always like the hook where the point of the hook is facing the tail. That way when you're going to go over structure, it's going to you know, this hook's going to be on its back and it's going to come through a little bit better. Plus, when the fish are going to look to bite this bait, most of the time, you know, this is going to be on the bottom. They're going to nose down at this thing and they're going to come up and bite it. So you're going to hook them in the roof of the mouth. And this is just deadly. You know, this is something where, you know, I fish on tour all the time. This thing has won me a ton of money, won me a lot of boats, and it works with, you know, with worms, with Senkos, pretty much anything. Now, how I'm going to rig this thing is I'm going to take a nail weight, and you know, you can put it just straight in the head of the thing. You can just right just like that. But a couple things. You know, when you go to skip this bait, these tungsten nail weights are expensive. I mean, they're really expensive. And I've had it where I skip them across the water and they come out, and then you're left and you're really mad. And a couple things I like to do is, oh dang it, I don't have my pliers. I had some pliers, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take pliers, I'm going to hold the end of this thing, I'm going to take a lighter, I'm going to light it on fire and just heat this thing up. Get this tungsten hot. Then, holding it with the pliers, I'm going to slide it in the bait, and what that's going to do is going to melt the plastic around this, and then this thing is not coming out. You're going to lose the bait before you're going to lose the nail weight, especially at, you know, $6 a pack of nail weights. That's very handy. Next thing I want to do is this is an O-ring machine. I'm going to take this guy here. I'm going to put some O-rings on there. You know, you can buy them at the tackle shops. They're like 15 bucks for a pack of O-rings. It's way too much money. Or you can go to Buna. I'll find out the website. There's a website out there where they're 100 packs, $2. So anyways, I'm going to take it on here. I'm going to go down the worm, and that's it. Then, when I go to hook it again, hook point towards the tail, I'm going to hook it, and that's the setup right there. It's going to be wacky rig. It's going to give a different look. You're going to throw it out there. It's going to spiral down, and then when it hits the bottom, it's going to look very natural. It's going to kind of just hop along the bottom, and you're going to get a ton of bites on this. Now, the reason I use the O-ring is when you do hook a fish, this thing's going to slide off and up the line. So you're going to save the bait, and this thing's not going to, you know, this is a Senko, it's not going to be banging on the fish, and you're going to risk losing the fish. So that is just a killer setup. I've, again, been doing this for about 5 years. Won some tournaments on it, won a lot of boats on it. It works everywhere. And people ask, you know, stuff like throwing the flick shake, the Jackal flick shake. Hey, do they make an O-ring for that, you know, with the wacky jig head? They do. They're hard to find, though. They're so small. A couple tricks I'm going to show you guys today. Very cool. You know, this will work with a drop shot. If you're wacky rigging it, it'll work with, you know, if you're throwing it with the nail weight rig or weightless Senko. Same thing. If I can open this pack over. Couple things. The cheapest way you're going to find an O-ring is a straw. You're going to get it In-N-Out Burger or Burger King, okay? This is going to sound crazy, but you take a straw, you got to find the right size that's going to fit the bait, and you're going to make your own O-ring. You're going to cut it, you know, 1/8 of an inch long, and there we go. You got your own O-ring. It's clear, and it's going to do the same thing for a fraction of a price. Plus, with a clear O-ring, it's going to blend in with the bait, so you're not going to see that black line. And you know, this is something that works just killer. And you know, you can take your wacky jig head, like if you're throwing the flick shake, you can hook it straight through the straw. It's going to stay on there. You're going to go through a fraction of the baits. Another way, this is something I've been doing for a long time too. It works with Senkos, works with anything. You get some heat shrink tubing. Same concept, but you're going to have a little bit tighter fit. You're going to cut a little piece. You're going to slide it on the bait, you know, 1/8 of an inch long. You're going to slide it up there, you know, and the heat shrink tubing, you can get a little bit bigger stuff, you know, so you can fit a lot of baits. You're going to take a lighter. You're going to light this thing real quick, and it's going to shrink down there. And there you go. Now, this thing is not going to move. Plus, you know, if you were throwing the nail weight rig or say the wacky jig head, what I like to do is I like to hook it and go straight through that thing. And now, a couple things. It's not coming off, and it's going to keep that bait centered. It's going to keep the hook straight. So when you're throwing out there, it's not going to roll over on its side. It's not going to hook the plastic, and you're going to have a bait that's going to come balled back. So that's just a couple tips that are going to be really, really good with some of this light line finesse fishing.